Today's Bible study, I feel like it'll be kind of a brief one because we are just learning about Micah, and it opens up where it says Micah's idols. And that right there is a horrible way to be introduced in the Bible, because an idol is anything that we put higher than God. And with Micah's idols, we learn, the things that he did for himself. Let's read before I get too into it. So in verses 1 through 2, I had to read it a couple times because after reading it, I was just like, what did I read? So basically he stole 1,100 shekels of silver from his mom, and then he returned it, and then she blessed him. She said, and then his mother said, Lord bless you, my son. So it's good that he returned it. But then afterwards in verses 3 through 6, they used the silver to make an idol. And it said that Micah had many gods, and he also made his son a priest. Now, there's so many things wrong with that. Micah is trying to self-replicate the things that God has put aside, the rules for the tabernacle that God has given Israel. And he's trying to change it and twist it and make it his own. And man, doesn't that sound like today? Everyone, not everyone, but today's world, people try to twist either God's word, or they try to, do their own thing. That's very much a theme of today's society. And I feel like with today's society, sometimes people are just so self-focused and self-centered. Now, I'm not perfect, of course, and I do have moments like we all do of being, looking at our own needs. But what I'm trying to say is Micah was really self-focused, really self-centered, and it sounded like maybe he was trying to do the right thing, but in actuality, he was not. We need to measure our actions against God's word and what God says, and not against our own thoughts and our own feelings. So example, he made an ephod and he gave it to his own priest that he appointed. And again, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's not what he was supposed to do. A young Levite, they were just traveling and he stumbled upon Micah, and Micah said, hey, come be my priest. That is not right. And it said, so the Levite agreed to live with him, and the young man became like one of his sons to him. And the young man became his priest and lived in his house. And then verse 13 is so sad. It said, and Micah said, now I know that the Lord will be good to me, since this Levite has become my priest. And again, Micah is so hyper focused on himself. So many things I took out of that verse for 13, and especially, and I said this in a recent video, but why do you serve God? You really have to examine your heart. Do you serve God, and do you try to do things so that God can bless you and God can give you things? Or do you serve him out of the goodness of your heart because you love him and you want to bring him glory and you want others to get to know him? Really examine your heart. We need to be led by God, not by our own ways. It reminded me of Proverbs chapter 14, verse 12, I believe. There is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end, it leads to death. And so Micah, there was a way that seemed right to him, but kind of like Samson, Samson, he kind of walked in the ways of God, but he mostly didn't. He knew what he was supposed to do, just like Micah. It sounds like Micah is well aware of what God is calling Israel to do and the instructions that he's placed for Israel, but he's choosing to make his own way. So we have to be careful of that. That's basically the premise of this entire chapter. Some takeaways you can ask yourself: what are some idols in your life? What are some things that you put ahead of God? Even if it's something like worry, it's like, are you focusing so much on the worry rather than focusing on God? Or their kids or money, those are the idols that we are more commonly aware of, but anything could be an idol. It could be anything. It could be things that are good even. But if it's taking away time from God, if you are so hyper focused on that thing rather than on serving him and serving the Lord, then that could be an idol in your life. Be careful to not take the word and try to twist it, make it your own to suit your own needs. Like I said, this was a pretty quick chapter. As always, let me know what you learned. I love to hear your input as well. Post a new Bible study video on Wednesdays and Fridays, 7 a.m. Eastern, and I can't wait to study the Bible with you again. Bye.